A surreal scene unfolded. A mysterious woman emerged from the river, distinguishable by a snake coiled around her head. The sight was terrifying, and fear clutched at Obiageli's heart. Yet, amidst her terror, she summoned a whisper of courage and asked, "Who are you?" Her voice trembled, reflecting the mix of awe and fear that the woman's presence inspired. Once upon a time, in the beautiful village of Ahia, nestled in the eastern mountains, there lived a woman named Obiageli. Everyone in the village knew her as Aga, which sadly means a woman who hasn't had a child. For more than 12 years, Obiageli had been married, hoping and dreaming of a child of her own. The women of Ahia were famous for their ability to have many children, so it was a shock that Obiageli couldn't have a baby. She tried every plant, medicine her mother and friends suggested, but nothing worked. Feeling out of options, she turned her hopes to the sky, trusting in a higher power and waiting for the right moment. This surprised the villagers, as they thought she must have done something wrong to incur the wrath of the gods on herself. And soon, people started treating Obiageli very badly. They made fun of her and were unkind, calling her all sorts of mean names. Whenever they could, they reminded her of her struggle, making her feel even worse. One time, there was this woman called Mama Jidenna who had 7 children, but none of them were being raised properly. They lived very close to Obiageli. One day, Obiageli returned from the market tired and kept her things in the kitchen to get water from her hut. Upon returning, she saw Jidenna's second son, Obiora, leaving her kitchen. Immediately, she rushed to her basket and discovered her money had been stolen. "What?" she screamed. "Obiora! Obiora!" she called out, chasing after him. He ran into their house and shut the door. "Obiora!" she kept on calling till his mother came out. "Who is shouting like a mad dog in my compound under this hot sun?" "Mama Jidenna, it's me, Obiageli. Please tell Obiora to give me back the money he stole from my basket right now," she pleaded. Mama Jidenna sighed deeply. "How dare you come to my house to accuse my son of stealing?" Her voice was filled with disbelief and a hint of anger. "But I caught him red-handed," she defended herself, her words stuttering out as she tried to explain what she had seen. Mama Jidenna couldn't hold back and burst into mocking laughter. "This woman, you really are something, aren't you? Not only can't you have kids, but now you are a big liar too. But I can't really blame you. If you had your own child, maybe you wouldn't be here accusing other people's children. How can you even say my son stole your money?" Her words were sharp, cutting through the air with disbelief and scorn. Tears rolled down Obiageli's eyes. "Why don't we ask him?" she suggested. "I saw him." "You are still calling my son a thief? Nwanyi Aga, if you don't leave my house this minute, Thunder will fire the both of us. Are you still here? Mama Jidenna threatened. Feeling overwhelmed and unsure of what to do next, Obiageli turned around and walked back to her home, with Mama Jidenna's harsh words following her. She spent the whole night in tears, questioning herself. Is it really my fault that I can't have a child? She wondered. It hurt her deeply that even when she was right, people didn't miss a chance to hurt her by reminding her of her inability to have children. As time went on, things got even worse for Obiageli. She became the village's laughingstock. Whenever she walked by, the other women would make hurtful comments like, "Her husband must really be going through so much. It's like living with another man in your house." Their words were sharp and filled with mockery, making her feel even more isolated and misunderstood. Obiageli turned into a deeply saddened woman. Her husband Chidi never openly complained about their situation, yet she could feel it in her heart that he was no longer content. The unspoken disappointment and the weight of their shared dream unfulfilled hung heavily between them, adding a layer of silence to their once happy home. One evening, Obiageli's mother-in-law, Mbeke, paid them a visit, and just one look at her face was enough to tell she was up to no good. She had never been fond of Obiageli, blaming her time and again for their childlessness. This time, she brought along a young maiden. "I can't let you shame my son any longer in this village. 15 years and no child, Obiageli. 15 whole years. You are a curse," she exclaimed. "Anyways, I've found a woman who will show everyone that my son is indeed a man. I knew it from the start. I told him not to marry you, but he didn't listen." Her words were harsh, filled with anger and disappointment as she introduced her plan to change their fate. Her husband, Chidi, remained silent throughout the confrontation. Obiageli could tell from his silence that he was at his breaking point. The absence of his voice in her defense spoke volumes, suggesting that the weight of their situation had finally become too much for him to bear. That night, under the comforting shade of the Udara tree, Obiageli found herself engulfed in sorrow. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she poured her heart out to the gods of her land. Through her sobs, she cried for justice and understanding. "It's not my fault that I can't have a child. Yet everyone mocks me for it. Isieke, gods of our land, please come to my aid." Her voice was filled with desperation and hope, pleading for the gods to see her pain and grant her the relief she so deeply yearned for. Just before midnight, Obiageli would return home from the Udara tree. These visits, where she poured out her heart under the ancient branches, became her only source of solace. But her world darkened further when Ojugo, her husband's new wife, announced her pregnancy. Obiageli's life took a harsher turn as she was relegated to a maid servant in her own home. She found herself burdened with all the household chores, cooking, washing, fetching water, and catering to Ojugo's every demand. Chidi, her husband, shifted his affection entirely towards Ojugo, who quickly became his favorite. In this new order, Obiageli became invincible, her presence barely acknowledged, as if her well-being mattered to no one. She was losing it. She prayed for death to come take her severally, but it refused to come. On that fateful day, Obiageli sought refuge under the Udara tree, her heart heavier than ever. Earlier, Ojugo, her husband's new wife, had cruelly taunted her with the label "barren woman" for merely taking some yams from her stash. Exhausted and famished from the market, and with her husband absent, she had hoped the small act of taking just 2 tiny tubers would go unnoticed. Instead, it unleashed a storm of anger from Ojugo. Overwhelmed by the day's events, Obiageli wept under the tree until exhaustion took over her, and she drifted into sleep. In her dream, a surreal scene unfolded. A mysterious woman emerged from the river, distinguishable by a snake coiled around her head. The sight was terrifying, and fear clutched at Obiageli's heart. Yet, amidst her terror, she summoned a whisper of courage and asked, "Who are you?" Her voice trembled, reflecting the mix of awe and fear that the woman's presence inspired. The woman gave a smile that lit up the dreamlike sunshine. She was so breathtakingly beautiful that Obiageli thought she might be the goddess of the sun herself. "I am Isieke, the goddess of the land," the woman revealed. Overwhelmed with awe, Obiageli bowed deeply, unable to keep her eyes on such splendor. "I'm sorry, my queen. I didn't know it was you," she apologized, her voice filled with reverence for the divine being before her. The goddess's voice was gentle, a soothing balm to Obiageli's wounded heart. "It's okay. I'm not here to harm you. Your tears have reached the ground, and I have listened. Those who mock you will soon feel my wrath," she thundered angrily. "Now, go, return to your home. Your husband awaits you, longing for your presence. Soon, very soon, you will hold your own child in your arms. She will be a girl, and her name shall be called Oma, for she will bring joy and beauty to your life. The villagers will feel your pain through her." The promise of hope and redemption filled Obiageli's heart, lighting up her world with the prospect of a future bright with love and laughter. Startled awake, Obiageli found herself drenched in sweat. To her astonishment, a python lay coiled around her, an embodiment of the divine encounter she had just experienced in her dream. Understanding the significance of this moment, especially in Ahia, where snakes were held in high esteem as sacred beings, she bowed deeply to the python in reverence. Then, with a heart full of newfound hope and the words of the goddess echoing in her mind, she made her way back home, just as she had been instructed. True to the goddess's words, Obiageli found her husband Chidi waiting for her in their hut, just as she had been told in her dream. That night, they came together, rekindling their bond and hope for the future, under the silent witness of the stars above Ahia. Soon enough, Obiageli's dream became reality. She was pregnant. The news spread through the village like a refreshing breeze, leaving everyone in utter disbelief. How could such a miracle occur? After 15 long years of waiting, the villagers wondered. The taunts and cruel nicknames ceased. No longer did they call her Nwanyi Aga, the barren one. Instead, everyone suddenly found it in themselves to mind their own business, as if the wind of change brought by Obiageli's pregnancy had shifted the village's spirit itself. Little did they know that their troubles had just begun. A few months following Ojugo's childbirth, Obiageli welcomed her own bundle of joy into the world, a baby girl named Oma, just as the goddess had foretold. Oma was exceptionally beautiful. The villagers, struck by her loveliness, fondly called her Murumma, which means the seed of beauty. As Oma grew, her beauty blossomed even more. Her face radiated like the sun, captivating everyone's admiration. It was said that even those who could not see were aware of her extraordinary beauty. Both the young and old adored her, and she became a beloved figure in the village, embodying the grace and promise her birth signified. There was a mysterious aspect to Oma's life. Every night, as she lay asleep, a snake would coil itself around her, as if standing guard. Obiageli, fully aware of the uniqueness of her daughter's birth and her own encounter with the goddess Isieke, took great care to keep this a secret. She never allowed anyone into their huts at night, fearing the whispers and speculations that might arise from such a sight. In her heart, Obiageli knew her daughter was no ordinary child. This connection to the snake, a revered symbol in Ahia, only deepened the mystery. She chose to keep this part of Oma's life hidden, not speaking of it to anyone, safeguarding the extraordinary nature of her daughter's existence. As Oma grew older, her stunning beauty wasn't the only thing that set her apart. Her charm drew everyone towards her, desiring her friendship and attention. However, beneath her captivating exterior, Oma harbored a fiery temper. Quick to anger, her wrath had a dire consequences. Whenever she felt provoked or wronged, a mysterious and deadly python would appear, biting the offender. Tragically, none who suffered this fate survived. All known remedies and treatments failed against the venom of this spectral snake, but Oma didn't know the damage or harm her temper was causing. Oma's enchanting beauty and mysterious aura did not extend to her academic pursuits. She struggled with her studies, and one unfortunate day, she failed a test. Her teacher, perhaps frustrated or unaware of Oma's unique situation, decided to make an example of her. In front of the entire class, he called her a dullhead, leading to an outburst of laughter from her classmates. The humiliation cut deep, wounding Oma's pride and leaving her heart heavy with pain. That very evening, a tragic event unfolded. The teacher, on his way home from school, was bitten by a snake beside the road. The bite was fatal, and no help could save him in time. This incident left the village in shock, but no one had answers to this sudden snake bite episode. Omar preferred solitude over the company of others, finding comfort and peace in her own thoughts and the presence of her mother Obiageli. Despite her mother's gentle encouragement to mingle and make friends with her peers, Omar remained resistant to the idea. She felt most understood and accepted in the quiet moments she shared with Obiageli, away from the judgment and fears of the outside world. This bond between the mother and daughter grew stronger with each passing day, rooted in a deep understanding and love that transcended the ordinary. As Omar matured, the strength of her mysterious powers intensified, entwining her fates ever more deeply with the serpents that were revered in Ahia village. In the village's tradition, snakes were seen as omens or messengers, their rare visits to humans signifying either impending trouble or marking the celebration of the grand festival. And even then, only the chief priests were graced with their presence. Omar, however, lived a life far removed from these norms. Snakes were her frequent companions, engaging her in long unheard conversations that blurred the line between the natural and the supernatural. One day, this extraordinary aspect of Omar's life was accidentally exposed. While she was in the midst of one of these enigmatic dialogues in the kitchen, her stepsister Ego stumbled upon the scene. The sight of Omar conversing with a snake shocked Ego to the core. Panicked and incredulous, she ran to fetch her mother, hoping to share her astonishment and perhaps fear. By the time they returned to the kitchen, the snake had vanished, leaving no trace of the extraordinary encounter except in Ego's vivid recounting. This incident sowed seeds of wonder, fear, and curiosity within the family. Upon hearing her daughter's account, Ojugo questioned Ego, seeking clarity and confirmation about what she had just witnessed. "Are you sure of what you are saying?" Ego's affirmation only deepened Ojugo's suspicion and curiosity. In Ahia, the ability to communicate with snakes was a rare gift, often associated with individuals possessing extraordinary powers or a deep connection to the spiritual realm. Ojugo had always sensed something unusual about Omar, something beyond the ordinary that set her apart from the rest. This incident with the snake in the kitchen confirmed her suspicions, adding a layer of mystery and intrigue to Omar's already enigmatic presence in their life. It was becoming increasingly clear that Omar was no ordinary child. Her unique abilities hinted at a deeper mystical significance that was slowly coming to light. Ojugo, perhaps out of fear, misunderstanding, or envy, began whispering to her neighbors and friends about the unsettling incident involving Omar and snakes. These whispers grew into rumors, painting Omar as a child touched by dark forces. As the rumors spread like wildfire through the village, the term witch began to shadow Omar's name among the village girls. Yet, the fear of her mysterious powers and the protective aura that seemed to surround her ensured that these cruel labels were never thrown at her directly. Instead, They simmered in hushed conversations and behind closed doors. But their pain was so beautiful and had all the young men's attention to herself. One day, tensions boiled over the stream, a place where the village women and girls often gathered. A confrontation escalated between Oma and another girl called Chinwe. In the heat of the argument, the girl lashed out at Oma with words that cut deep. "You think we don't know who you are? We know. We know who you are, and you are an evil child." These words, echoing the village's whispered suspicions, struck a nerve with Oma, igniting her anger. As fate would have it, Chinwe, who had hurled the accusation at Oma, didn't make it far on her journey home before a snake appeared and bit her. This incident sent shockwaves of fear through the other girls at the stream, prompting them to abandon their water and flee home in horror. The event reinforced the fearsome aura surrounding Oma and served as a grim reminder of the rumors about her mystical connection with snakes. The village was left in a state of heightened fear and suspicion, further isolating Oma from her peers and deepening the mystery of her true nature. Oma was scared when she heard Chinwe had died. She began to recall how anyone who had a misunderstanding with her died mysteriously of snake bites, but she just couldn't crack down this puzzle. She was scared of talking to anyone about this, as she didn't want to be judged or called evil, so she kept it to herself. The alarming frequency of snake bites, unheard of in the village's history, became a source of deep concern for the elders. Such occurrences were not only terrifying but also mystifying, suggesting a disturbance in the natural order that governed their life. In search of answers and fearing the displeasure of their deities, the village elders called upon the chief priest to seek counsel from the god of Isieke, hoping to uncover the cause of these sinister events and whether the goddess' wrath was upon them. However, their attempts to communicate with Isieke were met with a disconcerting silence. In their tradition, the silence of the gods was an ominous sign, interpreted as an indication of their anger and dissatisfaction with the community. Faced with this divine silence and desperate for resolution, the elders decided to seek wisdom beyond their village boundaries. They resolved to journey to a distant town where they hoped to find sages or other divinities who could shed light on the situation and offer guidance on appeasing the gods, thus restoring peace and safety to their troubled village. They prepared for the journey and set out. On their way, they encountered the snake and were compelled to go back after it bit two of the men. The other men ran back to the village in fear. As the situation grew increasingly dire, with more lives lost to snake bites, the village descended into a state of profound grief and desperation. The mysterious plague showed no signs of abating, leaving the villagers searching for any means to appeal for mercy. Mothers, heartbroken over the loss of their children, resorted to traditional pleas for divine intervention. Carrying green leaves, a symbol of peace and supplication, they marched to the big river, the believed abode of Isieke, their voices raised in pleas for mercy and relief. Yet, Their cries seemed to echo unanswered, leaving a pall of sorrow over the once vibrant community. The village, previously alive with the hustle and bustle of daily life, now lay shrouded in a chilling silence, a testament to the weight of their collective sorrow. In the heat of this, there was this wealthy farmer, Nweke. In the village, he was known for taking people's farmlands forcefully from them. He forcefully claimed Chidi, Oma's father's land, and Chidi was hot. He reported to the village chiefs, and they promised to look into it. But being that Nweke was an influential member of the village, they ruled to his favor, even though they knew the truth. Chidi was so sad. How was he going to take care of his family? Oma had this and was provoked. Overnight, all the crops on Nweke's farmland withered. Nweke had never experienced this before, and he thought it was because of his dispute with Chima. He visited him, apologizing to him and asking him to take back his land. On his way back home, he was bitten by this dangerous snake. The villagers knew now that they were in trouble if this was not stopped. Darkness had covered the entire village. They began to file in their numbers to the king's palace, crying for help. The king was helpless and didn't know what to do. Every effort made to make inquiries was brought to naught, as the group would face the anger of the snake. As the village of Ahia found itself gripped by fear and desperation, a glimmer of hope emerged, in form of Nwagu, a courageous hunter, known for his unique ability to communicate with animals. Renowned for his bravery, Nwagu faced and overcome various malevolent spirits in the depths of the forest. His experiences had not only honed his skills, but had also instilled in him a profound sense of responsibility towards his people. Confident in his abilities, he stepped forward, offering to seek out the solution that had eluded the village thus far. Nwagu's mother, however, was consumed with worry for her son's safety. Aware of the dangers that lay beyond the familiar boundaries of Ahia and the unknown nature of the curse afflicting their village, she implored him to reconsider. But Nwagu, steadfast in his resolve, reassured her with a promise of his safe return, his determination unshaken by the risk ahead. With his mother's pleas echoing in his heart, Nwagu prepared for this journey to the distant town, driven by the hope of uncovering the knowledge that could free his village from this nightmare. On the day Nwagu embarked on this pivotal journey, he was immediately tested. Isieke, the python goddess, in the form of a snake, sensing his purpose, slithered towards him with intent. But Nwagu was prepared. He quickly took out Oji, a sacred kola nut, known for its ability to ward off evil spirits, and began to chant ancient mystic words that were beyond understanding. This act of spiritual defiance caused the snake to retreat, disappearing as swiftly as it had appeared, leaving Nwagu unharmed and resolute to continue his quest. As he neared the boundary between Ahia and Oki town, the domain of the renowned herbalist he sought, an ominous shadow enveloped him, a vast snake blocking his path. his presence exuding a palpable sense of danger. From the dense foliage, a voice boomed, warning him to abandon his mission and return to his village. It was then that Nwagu realized he was in the presence of Isieke, the revered python goddess, a being of immense power and significance. Surprised and bewildered by her anger towards his people, he instinctively bowed in deep respect, recognizing the gravity of the moment. Understanding that he needed to pacify the goddess to continue his quest, Nwagu reached for his Oja, a spiritual flute, similar to the rituals performed by his father Obuagu during divine visitations by Isieke. The melodious, soulful sound of the Oja had a soothing effect on the enraged deity. Skillfully playing, Nwagu appealed to the goddess's benevolence, and as the music filled the air, gradually the darkness lifted and the goddess vanished, leaving Nwagu to proceed with his mission, his path now cleared by the power of reverence, tradition, and the haunting tunes of the Oja. Crossing into the domain of Oki, Nwagu sought out Udele, the esteemed herbalist, renowned for his deep connection to the spiritual realm. Upon finding him, Nwagu shared the dire consequences that had befell Ahia, including his own remarkable encounter with Isieke in the forest. He expressed his desperate need to understand the cause of Isieke's wrath and to learn how the goddess might be appeased to halt the calamities plaguing his village. Udele listened intently, his interest piqued by Nwagu's courage and the gravity of his tale. Moved by the young hunter's determination, Udele retreated into his shrine, a place where the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds thinned, to consult the oracles. Initially, the oracles remained silent, offering no insight or guidance. However, Udele was no stranger to this capricious nature of the spirit. With years of experience under his belt, he persisted in his efforts, performing ritual sacrifices and playing the Oja Mmụọ, a sacred flute known to summon the attention of the spirits. Meanwhile, the villagers were getting worried that Nwagu had been killed in the forest, but no one dared to go into the forest to seek him. They were all scared to face the wrath of the python. Udele's perseverance was a testament to his wisdom and understanding of the spiritual world. After a tense and expectant 10-day vigil, the oracles finally broke its silence, unveiling a tale of deep sorrow and divine retribution. It spoke of a woman long subjected to ridicule and cruelty by her fellow villagers for her inability to bear children. Her suffering was so profound that she sought solace under the sacred Udala tree, imploring Isieke, the goddess of the land, to deliver justice on her behalf. Moved by the woman's distress, Isieke responded, possessing her child with a spirit of vengeance against those who had wronged her mother. Armed with this revelation, Udele instructed Nwagu to hasten back to Ahia. You need to run to your village now. I will give you a substance with which you will wash your eyes with. Tell the king to gather all the maidens in the village. Then wash your face with the substance and look at them. The one with flames on her forehead is the one. Blow this powder to her face so she falls asleep. With her asleep, nobody can get hurt again as Isieke walks through her. Tie her together and keep her in a safe room. In addition to the immediate solution of identifying and neutralizing the vessel of Isieke's wrath, Udele provided a crucial step towards healing and reconciliation. He instructed that while the girl remained in a state of induced slumber, her mother must undertake a pivotal action of contrition and appeal. At midnight, under the cover of darkness and the silent gaze of the stars, she was to return to the sacred Udala tree, the very place where her initial pleas for justice had been met by the goddess. There, enveloped by the night's solemn peace, she was to earnestly plead with Isieke, beseeching the goddess's forgiveness on behalf of the village and asking her to cease the infliction of pain and suffering. Then, after this, get all the items Isieke has demanded, which I would list. The village priest should take them to the river and sacrifice to Isieke the water python, after which her spirit would be calm, and the young maiden would come back to herself. But on no cause should anyone mock her with what had happened. She is so dear to the heart of Isieke, and Isieke would return with more fury if that ever happens. Udele's wisdom underscored the belief that true healing required acknowledgement of wrongs and a heartfelt appeal to the divine. Upon Nwagu's return, the village of Ahia sprang into action, their movements guided by the instructions relayed through him. The elders, immediately informed, did not hesitate to assemble the young maidens, and with a heart heavy with duty, Nwagu fulfilled his solemn task. Oma, identified by the divine mark of flames on her forehead, was gently put to sleep. Her spirit gently quilled to halt the circle of vengeance that had plagued the village. Obiageli, carrying the weight of years of sorrow and hope, approached the Udara tree at the stroke of midnight. There, under the whispering leaves, she poured out her heart to Isieke, her words a mixture of apology, plea, and a mother's love, seeking for forgiveness and peace for Ahia. Her actions were sincere and profound, and these were the keys to unlocking the path to reconciliation. The village, united in purpose, carried out the remaining rituals with reverence and hope. Sacrifices were offered at the river, and with the resounding echo of 3 gunshots, Isieke's presence was respectfully acknowledged and then released back to the spiritual realm. This act marked the end of the goddess's direct influence in their lives, a momentous turning point for Ahia. The news of the village's liberation from the circle of retribution spread rapidly, igniting a celebration that reflected not only relief but a renewed sense of community and togetherness. Oma, once the focal point of divine revenge, was now embraced as an integral member of the community, her life no longer shadowed by the circumstances of her birth. This chapter in the history of Ahia, steeped in pain, courage, and ultimately redemption, would never be forgotten, but would be written in the hearts of the inhabitants for generations to come. Thank you for watching. I would love you to share your lessons in the comment section. And please, if you are yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Kindly subscribe now and hit the notification button to get notified whenever we post our stories. Thank you once again, and don't forget, I love and really appreciate all your support. Thank you, and see you in our next story. Bye!